and surveying a different area for any potential prey. But now that it has repositioned, we are probably also going to do the same thing and leave it to its business. As tempting as it is to stick around, I fear that if it does fly off to catch something, it could well be out of our view. So well done to all of you who did get that identification right, and for those of you who didn't, at least you took a shot at it. And something also interesting about the brown snake eagle is that it doesn't have feathered legs, so that's usually a characteristic that is required for a bird to be termed an eagle, and it has somehow managed to evade that. So very few eagles will not have feathered legs, whereas this is one of them. So all little things to look for when identifying birds in the future. Let's see, they're very small, these little yellow birds here on the... Oh no, it's still there. Yeah, it's still there, but I think it's too small to... Let's try and get a little bit closer. Of this species, they make very popular pets. So that's another clue for all of you. And I'm just going to get the picture ready in my book to show you a close-up of it. But these are little canaries, and they look to be like the yellow-fronted canary. Now this bird that is calling very close to us is an orange-breasted bushshrike, I believe. An exceptionally pretty bird that I am going to keep my eyes peeled for. I have managed to show you one, but just once before, and with a bit of luck it's going to pop out. I can't establish exactly where it is from its call, but it is very close by. Let's carry on a little bit. So okay, oh look at this. I'm just going to try and reverse. Oh no, it's in this tree so close to us. That's it calling again now. We're just going to really battle to get an angle, it's so thick. Can you see it jumping around in there, Vian?
Yeah, and there's obstructed head. There we go.
Okay, well it's just flown off, it's not completely gone yet, so it's not over. Oh, now it took a bit of a flight further afield. Just going to creep forward a little bit and see if we can't get a view. It's one of the most pretty birds we get out here, and would love to show it to you.
The eagle relocated.
Sorry?
The eagle relocated. Into the red line.
Oh, there we go. It looks like the eagle may have, the brown snake eagle may have come across here. Sadly, the orange-breasted bushshrike has evidently disappeared, and they are quite secretive birds. You don't often see them out in the open. Well, there really is a lot of bird activity in this area. But the tricky thing with birds is that they're often fluttering about and make it difficult for us to show you. So we're probably going to carry on and see what else is happening out here. But at least you got to hear that orange-breasted bushshrike, and it's useful to start learning the call slowly because they can help lead you to actually seeing the bird. If we didn't know what it was calling, we would have just carried on driving without even the chance of potentially seeing it. Okay, well, we've got an Inyala here, and I'm fairly certain it's going to cross out in this little clearing in front of us, which will provide us with a beautiful view, and then may, if we're even lucky, continue up to Twin Dams, which we are very close to for a drink. And I'm fairly certain more will start following behind it. Oh, and its youngsters just popped out behind it, so there's at least one more, but I'm guessing possibly even more that will come through following this initial female. Such pretty antelope, probably my favorite in this area. Their markings are incredible, and also the habitat that you often find them in. They like thick riverine vegetation, so we do see them in quite often some beautiful scenery. This little squirrel's providing us with some great action, and it's surprisingly close to us. So our luck with the squirrels continue this morning. Copy that, good idea. Well, we've just got a request through from Lynn on Twitter, and Lynn is asking if I can find the orange-breasted bushshrike in my book to show you all. And what a good idea, Lynn, and sorry for not doing that initially. I told you all what a beautiful bird it was, but haven't actually showed you a picture of it, so that is what I will do. So just to keep you updated on Brent's movements, he is searching for any sign of a leopard, and as I did say earlier this morning, he is hungry to find one, and that is what he's up to. He's not having much luck at the moment, but he is hoping to find some good tracks of a leopard to follow up on. Now, even though they look quite similar, once VM zooms in, you'll notice they are considerably different, the two at the top. The orange-breasted bushshrike, which is the one we heard calling now, is incredibly beautiful. And the grey-headed, slightly larger, also has a beautiful orange breast, but its grey head is more prominent than that of the orange-breasted. And what I'm even going to do is I'm just going to page back one more page and show you some of the other shrikes that we get. The gorgeous bush shrike at the bottom. which is a beauty. And sadly, one we don't see this far south in the Kruger is the crimson-breasted shrike. So not a bush shrike, but also a very pretty bird. And for those of you who are interested in the birds, a lot depends on the specific area of the Kruger National Park that you would go to, depending on what birds you would like to see or hope to see. Okay, let's see if we can creep up a little bit closer to these Inyala. They seem relaxed with us. And the great thing is about this shot we're about to show you is we are eye level with them. We are on a slight depression, and even just looking at the monitor now, you can really notice the difference in the shot when we are on the same level as them. Beautiful. So it's just her and her youngster, which is interesting. They usually travel in slightly larger herds than this, or it's usually about 5 or 6 of them on average moving together. Now you'll already be able to tell the sex of this youngster, even though you can't see any horns. Now, this is another question I'm going to put to you. How is it that I've been able to establish that this is a young male, even though we cannot see any horns? Going to reverse it a little bit because they've, as you can see, oh no, there we go, actually a great view. So take note of its face. That is where you are going to get the clue to distinguish the sex of this youngster. You'll notice how she's twitching her ears from side to side, and the Inyala and also the kudu, one of their close relatives, have got these very large ears which are suited perfectly to the habitat that they find themselves in. Because they are often in thick vegetation, these big ears allow them to try and detect predators, as their eyesight certainly wouldn't be the best option in thick vegetation. So you'll notice she's listening very intently, pivoting her ears from side to side, sometimes one listening forward, one listening back, just making sure everything's safe. I think the fact that it is just the two of them will also increase her alertness, because she cannot rely on other eyes and ears from other herd members. So, there have been two different general answers with regards to the sex of this youngster, and one of which was the ridge down the back. Sadly, that is not applicable, so that is not the sign we are looking for to distinguish that it's a male. It's the small white chevron between the eyes that already seems quite prominent, and the males will have this white marking between the eyes, and the females to a very small degree. And you'll even notice on this female, when she turns around, she will have a very, very slight white marking between her eyes, but not nearly as prominent as even her youngster. Let me try and creep forward a bit so VM can show you that white chevron between the eyes. So there you can see she's got very, very slight white marking, whereas the males will have a considerably more prominent white marking. Go with them now, please. There we go. Well done to Ramey and Lynn, Arquette and Judy. You all got the answers right, and I'm sure a lot more of you as well, but Nikki is battling to keep up with all the answers that are being sent through. So well done to all of you who did get it right. Well, the benefits of that Inyala do have is that they are browsers, so they have a large variety of different vegetation that they can feed on. And as you can see, she is certainly not feeding on one set plants in this area. It's a mixture of leaves and grasses as she goes. Okay, well that was a wonderful sighting of that mother Inyala and her youngster. Speaking of mothers and youngsters though, it may be worth our while to head across to the hyena den site. We're not very close to it at the moment, but certainly worth making our way across there. We haven't been there for a while, and it would be great to see how everything is going with those cubs as well as their parents. So I'm not sure when exactly it was that we were last at the den site, but for those of you who don't know, we've been very fortunate in that there's a clan of hyena that have got a den site that we know of, and we've been allowed some incredibly awesome encounters with the various members of that clan. It's mainly the young little cubs. There's 3 little cubs, one from in a previous litter, so slightly older from another mother, and then 2 that are slightly smaller. So 2 different litters, but they're all around probably 3 to 4 months of age at the moment. Ryan for Scott. I'm just leaving Twin Dams. Okay, thanks. So there is another vehicle there at the moment, but he said he'll be happy to make space for us as we get there. And because there are young cubs involved in the sighting, we limit it to only 1 vehicle, and that will be done with various different species. The same might happen with leopard or lion cubs that are small. We don't put too many vehicles into the sighting, and that way prevent the cubs from getting scared of vehicles, and that way hopefully habituate them to a degree that they tolerate us viewing them. And thanks to many years of good guiding protocol in the Sabi Sands, there are incredibly well habituated animals that allow us insights into their lives and allow us to follow them without interfering on their ongoings. Affirmative. Go ahead. Copy. Thank you very much. Sorry, Nicky, it's just the game drive channel again there. Not entirely sure of. There are certain areas where there are few roads and it's very thick, so there could be a lot going on within that area that we simply don't know about. Could be more, maybe from other clans don't overlap onto this property.
Well
done, wildebeest. You good there? Have you got it?
Yeah.
Look at this. Well spotted, VM. And this is awesome. Incredibly well camouflaged snakes, the puff adders. And this is only the second one we've been able to show you. And I wonder where that brown snake eagle is now. That would be a showdown. This is a highly venomous snake, and I'm hoping it's going to continue slithering along and then we can try and get another visual, but I fear that it may seek refuge in all this leaf litter. You would have noticed that it's got incredibly beautiful patterns on its body, but those patterns help it blend in very well, and especially in leaf litter like this. Let's creep forward.
tail.
Well, I'm so glad that I didn't run that over. It sounded like a close call. And they can look just like branches on the road. Like I say, we are going to just wait patiently. There is a chance it may continue slithering about. But I am concerned that after this close encounter with us, it may be wanting to hide out in all this leaf litter. What I may do, and it's not going to interfere too much with its business today, is possibly just lift up the branch of leaves that it's seeking refuge under, and it will just be able to slither up to the next. Oh, no, I can see it there, it's moving, it's beyond it already. Got it there?
Yep.
Hey?
Yeah, I got it.
Well done. Awesome. So, thankfully, I've not had to do anything, and look at this. Absolutely awesome. You'll notice it's sticking its tongue out consistently, and it's looking for prey or looking for anything, and its tongue is one of its most useful sensory organs, because obviously being that low to the ground there's very little it can see, but it can smell incredibly well. And that forked tongue, when it goes back into its mouth, each fork would be placed into essentially their own little receiver. So there's a receiver for the left fork and a receiver for the right fork. And as it places those forks into each receiver, depending on where the scent is coming from, let's say if it's coming from the left-hand fork would obviously pick up a stronger signal or stronger scent from there, and that would lead the snake in a direction that moves it slightly to where it needs to be. I'm just going to reposition the vehicle slightly. This is an incredible opportunity. How are we looking here? Djuma, okay. How incredible is this camouflage? And you'd notice that when this VM was zoomed out, it would be impossible to see it. I cannot believe how fortunate we've got. Just got a question through from Anne asking whether the brown snake eagle could eat him or whether he's too big. And no, I think the brown snake eagle would certainly be able to eat him. He's just about the perfect size for that eagle. Look at how beautiful those markings are. Now a little bit more about the venom of this snake. It's highly cytotoxic, which means if it were to bite you, your flesh would basically rot and break down, and people who are bitten by them often have to have serious surgery done, if not have amputations. So extremely nasty venom. You do not want to get bitten by this snake. The reason why it's called a puff adder is because if you do get close to them, just before you would maybe stand on it, it would alarm you or alert you by hissing. So they fill their body up with air and then let out a loud. So by puffing their body up to alert you, that is how they've got their name. And I can't believe how close it's coming to us. It's completely relaxed with us and allowing for by far the best snake sighting that I've been able to share with you. You can see how well that cryptic coat will help it to blend in, especially at this time of the year with all of the brown leaves. Now you'll realize how close it's coming to us by the fact that I've had to reverse the vehicle. Remay on Twitter is interested to know whether this is a youngster, and I wouldn't say that it is. It's quite large for a puff adder, especially in this area. Now, sizes of these snakes do vary greatly depending on the area that you are seeing them in. Other parts of Africa, they get considerably larger than the ones that I've seen in the Sabi Sands. So I think this is an adult, and I haven't seen them much bigger in this area. Now you'll also notice as it's moving, it's not really slithering in a serpentine motion like most snakes would. It moves in a caterpillar-like motion where it uses its ribs to pull itself forward. So caterpillar-like, or rectilinear, is another term that is used to describe their method of moving. And it can be useful when seeing tracks of snakes crossing the road. Even just watching it now, it would leave one solid straight track across the road, and that's typical of adders and also pythons. Whereas other snakes, you would see a more typical slithering left to right motion in their track, or even when they are moving. So often when we do see their tracks crossing the road, we can establish that it is a puff adder or a python and distinguish between other snakes. Imagine if we saw it catch something. That would be the ultimate show. But there doesn't seem to be too much prey around here. I'm just loving the fact that we are being able to watch it, and was concerned that it was going to hide out under that leaf litter when we initially found it. Fuma, you mind just zooming out a little bit just to give them an idea of how difficult it is to spot it in amongst that leaf litter? Perfect. I mean, driving along, how would you ever begin to start thinking that there's a snake right there? And I mean, it's fairly open. It's not that it's thick. But it requires a serious zoom and the knowledge, prior knowledge that it's already there to be able to find it. Now, in terms of prey that we'll be looking for, mainly rodents, but they will certainly be open-minded, as a lot of predators are, in terms of what they feed on. And you may find that frogs and lizards and even small birds will also make up a large part of the snake's diet. Now, in terms of length, the snake is probably around 20 inches in length, maybe a little bit longer, maybe about 24 inches, I would say. Maybe about 2 feet in length, maybe just a little bit longer would be my estimate. In terms of thickness, the thickest part of its body would probably be that of a golf ball, I would say. But in certain areas they'll get 2 or 3 times the size of this. But in my history in the Sabi Sands, we haven't really got the biggest puff adders in this area. And it is interesting how the same species of animal will vary greatly depending on where you find it in Africa. Well, I wonder if we should link around and keep an eye on it. We get to see snakes so seldomly that what I'm going to do is just drive up and see if we can maintain a visual of it. Just got a question through from Lois in Buffalo. Morning, Lois. And Lois is interested to know how often the snake would have to feed. Tricky question to answer, Lois, because like most predators, it would depend on their fortune. Now, if it manages to make a big kill, snakes can go for weeks, if not months, on just one big meal. So if it manages to catch a big prey item, it could, like I say, be sorted for a few weeks, even months possibly, especially now that we are heading towards our winter, where they'll become a lot less active and therefore not require nearly as much energy. So you probably find they do the majority of their hunting in the summer and very little in the winter. And this makes sense because the summer will be a lot warmer, which suits a cold-blooded animal. They need warmth from the sun to be able to move effectively. And therefore this guy is probably looking for one of its last meals before it does get too cold. Seems to all of a sudden picked up its pace, and I wonder what it can smell in and amongst the trunk of this tree. There could well be a cavity in there that's housing some kind of a little rodent. There seem to be a few small holes at the base of that tree. So maybe there's something tasty for it to eat in there. I'll try and reposition the vehicle one last time. Oh, not doing a great job here. Okay, well, it appears to have, it appears to have disappeared in there. I thought I'd seen it, but I hadn't. Well, what a sighting that was. And let me just check around on the other side and see if we can't see it coming out, just to make sure. topped out. Just got a question through from Jean. Here it comes, VM. Just on this side of. You'll get it coming out now. It's coming straight towards us at the base of those dead branches. Just zoom in. It's at the base of that clump there. So. Well, Jean is interested to know. Just on the right, you'll see it coming toward, just on the right of where you are. I just see a little bit of it there. Gina's interested to know whether a puff adder would have any effect to an elephant, and if it was to bite an elephant. And I don't think it would, because the elephant's skin is so thick that I think the puff adder's fangs would battle to penetrate into the bloodstream of the elephant, so I don't think elephants have anything to worry about, but certainly smaller animals with less thick of skin would come into trouble if they were to get bitten by one of these snakes. Something that's important to understand, though, is that snakes are not nearly as aggressive as people often make them out to be, and it's mainly when people are trying to catch or kill snakes that they get bitten. If you're minding your own business, people very seldom get bitten by snakes. And that same goes for animals. This puff adder, for example, can also warn animals as soon as they get close to it by hissing. So that would prevent them from standing on it by mistake. So, thankfully I enjoy catching snakes, provided I've got the right tools. It's very good excitement. So yes, occasionally we do catch snakes, and there's a whole network of tunnels and holes that I think the snake is investigating for any potential prey. I've lost vision of it now, and it could well have slithered down into one of these holes. In search of food. Incredible how in such a small area, due to its incredible camouflage, it's managed to disappear. Well, wasn't that a great sighting? And thanks very much to VM for spotting the leopard. So the puff adder. It's often leopard that he spots, but this morning it was a puff adder. So I hope you thoroughly enjoyed that. Our last sighting of a puff adder, which was the first one that I've managed to show you, was at night, and a very brief glimpse of it slithering across the road, whereas this morning we've really got to spend some quality time with this individual, and very, very fortunate that that has happened. But yeah, let's cut back to Brent and see what he's been up to for the last while, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back, guys. Romy and I have been following up on some male leopard tracks. We followed them from around the Balanites tree and Balanites Road, and they crossed into Arethusa. So we're now in Arethusa trying to see if we can find where the tracks went. Looks like he's gone into a drainage line that's to my east behind me. So we're going to keep checking this area, make sure he hasn't come out. If not, we'll go back to last tracks and then have a look on foot. But it started cloudy when we got up this morning, and then it cleared, and now it's become cloudy again. You panicking for it. Nice. Yes. Crested Franklin having a mild panic as we drove past. Suppose it pays to be panicking when everything tries to eat you. So there's no tracks coming out, so we're going to shoot round to the last place I had tracks. This is quite a big block, unfortunately, and quite thick. There's a big drainage system in the middle. We've done a big loop, so quite confident the leopard hasn't come out of this area yet. Just have to go back and see. Sort of that halfway point. I don't know whether it's quicker to turn around and go back or to go round. I think it's going to be quicker to go round. Always fun me going on to Arethusa. Definitely don't know the roads here well enough. So I apologize if you see me scrambling for the map. But in this circumstance at the moment, I don't really need to know what the road name is. I just need to know where the leopard tracks are going. You can see as we drive through the different areas, from the color of the trees, here we've got a lot more yellow leaves and even some going orange. So it's because our rains can often be quite localized. So in certain areas it'll still be a little bit more green, and then an area like this, it's definitely more yellow even than where we were this morning. And you can see how well a leopard would blend into these colors, all the breakups, the different colors, and that's what the rosettes do. They break up the image of the leopard, making him harder to see from a prey species point of view. Guys, remember, if you have any questions, you can send them to us. Questions at WildEarthTV, or just use the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Oh, another one of my favorite little critters all around us, but I think the termite mound's going to be the best. I'll try to get one to come out now. Oh, no, he made a run for it. Look, maybe if we go back a little bit. Can you hear them all around us? There we go. On the right, yeah. This dead log. And you're going to pop this in. So we get one to pop its head up. Not being very cooperative this morning. We're literally surrounded by a business of dwarf mongoose. Not playing along. There we go. Okay, you see the directly behind the log is the one just popped his head up. Yeah. Here we go. Getting a little bit more curious. It's probably a good, I think probably 10, 15 individuals around us. The smallest mammalian carnivore in Africa. Can you hear them scuttling around all around us? Someone's just making sure we're not actually a threat. Giving us a good checking out. Sometimes we find really, really relaxed ones. I don't think this is a very well-used road, so they're probably not as used to the vehicles as other ones. Incredibly cute little guys. Let's try to see if we can see one who's a little bit closer to us, a little bit more in the open. Let's check this big termite round in front of us. See if we can get one a little bit closer. I saw some scurry into it earlier. I can hear them. Anyone pops their head out. No, shame. These guys are probably not so used to vehicles, so we're not going to stress them out too much. Maybe we'll find some more. Right, we're going to go a little bit quicker to get back to where I had those last leopard tracks. Have a quick look in the drainage line. There's some water around there as well, so it's possible that we might have jumped ahead of him and he's now gone for a drink. when I said carnivores, you're correct. Shrews are omnivores. When I said the smallest mammalian carnivore actually it's classified under the family Carnivora. So as in part of the carnivore family, and it's to do with dental structure, sharp pointed teeth made for killing things. But you are correct, shrews are also omnivores more than carnivores. And there are plenty of species of shrews in Africa. From tiny little elephant shrews to really big elephant shrews as well, and other shrews in between. I'm not exactly sure which shrew species occur here, but where I was up in East Africa, we had incredible shrews, and I mean they were tall like this and long on the coastal belts in Tanzania. One of my favorite one was called a checkered elephant shrew, and it actually had little squares on his body. And then you got some very interesting like the Zanj and the coastal shrews, which are actually black and gold, but also still very big. I don't have I think they might be in the book now. What I'm doing, I will stop just now and have a look what shrews we have in this part of Africa. But I'm going to try get round to that water near where I had those leopard tracks quickly first. So what we'll do is we'll get round to the water, and then I'll stop there to listen for a little bit. And we can look up at the shrews then. Thank you, Donna. Negative. I've updates followed those male leopard tracks from Gowrie Repeater across Gowrie Main on towards Red Dam in Arethusa. So we're nearly at that water. So what we'll do is we'll have a quick look at the shrews and also listen to see if we hear any alarm calls. And then if nothing comes of that, I'm going to have a little stroll around the dam, see if he might have drunk a bit earlier before we came through. So the last tracks we had were just above this little drainage line, above this little dam in the drainage line. So we're just going to stop and listen for a few minutes, and I'm going to get to your shrews, Donna. So Donna, just quickly have a look here. Donna, what I was explaining earlier, that the dwarf mongoose is the smallest mammalian carnivore or carnivora. So it falls under the order of carnivora. So that's, you've got hyenas, cats, foxes, wild dogs, jackals, otters, honey badgers, polecats, civets, and then your mongoose and mongoose family and suricate family. Whereas the shrews fall under the order Insectivora, because they even though they are carnivores, they have been known to take meat. They mostly eat insects. So we'll have a look now what shrews we get here. Shrews. Okay. Oh, I'll just click the names here. We get. Oh, where's this Okay. Long-tailed, well, not forestry, that's a bit out of our range. There's a bit high faults. Here we go, this one we definitely get here. The greater dwarf shrew. I'll show you pictures of them now, I'm just checking which ones. Greater dwarf shrew and swamp musk shrew. So number 4, which is there, greater dwarf shrew we get here, and no, sorry, that's the greater musk shrew we get here, and there we go. Oh, here's another shrew that goes here. Which one is this? Tiny musk shrew, which is in the next plate. Reddish grey musk shrew. And what is this one? Grey brown musk shrew. Oh, I need to do some research on my shrews. So we go back to the page. So we don't actually have that bigger variation on shrews here. So we got number 4, number 5, and the biggest of these is probably about 5 or 6 centimeters, so probably about the same size as that picture is the biggest shrew species we get here. And that is, we'll see what he eats now. Greater musk shrew. Yes, a dwarf. There we go. That's greater dwarf shrew. There we go. Insectivorous. Almost all of them are insectivores. Insectivorous as well. But of a lot of these little like shrew families and things like that, they are probably of the least well known. I mean, in terms of reproduction, what they eat, they lead very, very, very solitary or secretive rather than solitary lives, and people have been studying them for years. But it's very difficult to sort of study a shrew in its natural behavior, natural environment without catching it. So a lot of what we do know about your smaller rodents and that is from actually catching them. So guys, I'm going to take a quick stroll just to check for tracks around this water. Make sure we didn't miss him. Well, if we do get the tracks, then we know he's moved on and we can check around again. Well, no problem, Donna. It's always a pleasure. And then what he says, he's done a little bit of research. There are 14 shrew species in South Africa without the elephant shrews. And I think there probably, I think from what we looked at, there were 3 or 4 that occur in this area, or can possibly occur in this area. But without setting a rodent trap, it's quite difficult to find out which ones exactly. And when I say a rodent trap, I'm not talking about a mouse trap that will kill them. There's various different ways of catching rodents for research. With most of your rodents, your gerbils and things like that, they have a great fondness for peanut butter, believe it or not. So what you do is you find a patch where there's some nice soft sand, and you dig a hole and you bury a bucket. So just the lip is sort of flush with the surface, and then you put a ring of peanut butter just far enough that they can't sort of hold on with their back feet and lean in to get at it. So when they do that, they fall in and then they can't climb out of the smooth sides of the bucket. But one of the problems with that, and then I know people who do that type of research will literally check it every 20 minutes at night, because little predators like genets and that learn very quickly that there's lots of free meals inside these rodent traps. So it's quite important that those researchers manage to check those traps very frequently, so that their research species doesn't get eaten by another little carnivore. Next, I couldn't hear what Scott was saying. Okay guys, Romeo and I are going to keep trying around this area, but in the meantime we're gonna cross across the Scott. We're also going to say goodbye. So from Romeo and myself, thanks very much for joining us. We had a great time. We're going to keep sneaking around this area for a little bit longer to see if we can find that leopard for this afternoon, or if we find it quickly, maybe for this morning, for a short one. But we're going to cross across the Scots, and I just want to say thanks very much to Nixon FC. She's doing a sterling job. And to all of you out there, whatever time it might be in the world, have a great day.
This is a male bateleur soaring above us, and you can tell that because half of the underneath of his wing is black and half white. The female will be predominantly white. So a good way to remember that is a lady getting married in a white wedding dress and a man in a suit. So she'll be predominantly white, whereas he's kind of 50-50. And now that the bateleur is soared out of view, the VM can take you across to the next interesting animals that we actually stopped initially to view before the bateleurs came onto the scene. And so happy to see the troop of baboons. It's the first time that I'm actually sharing them with you on film. I've seen them very seldomly since I've been here, and good to have them back around. They came onto the property kind of early Feb, and they disappeared for a week or two, and look at how comfortable they are clambering along. I'm not sure what they're feeding on. It is a marula tree, but as you can see there's not much in it, and it could be that they are feeding on insects. This is a dead marula tree, and it was killed by elephants. Evidently it was not pushed over, but if VM just pans down slightly, you'll notice at the bottom of the tree it has been ring barked, so all of the bark has been removed, therefore cutting off the transport system from the roots up to the rest of the plants, and this will kill a tree, even if it's a very thin strip around the circumference of a tree. If that bark layer is removed, the tree will die. So it could be that they're feeding on insects, I'm guessing, that are now taking advantage of this tree. And they are omnivorous, the baboons, so not strictly vegetarians, and they will even catch and kill small antelope and birds, as well as other small prey items. I'm just going to creep forward a little bit because there's also some other animals here that I'd love to show you. Not just the baboons. Now, you'll notice some kudu with a beautiful big male following closely behind, and it is getting to that time of the year where the antelope will start mating, and this is so that they can give birth in summer after their gestation period throughout the winter. So he's following closely, doesn't seem to have any competition from any other bulls, but I'm sure as the females come closer to being in full season, they'll attract more males, and this guy is potentially here a little bit early. Just going to try and loop ahead of them quickly. And while we do that, I just want to recap on that incredible sighting we had with the puff adder. And really interesting, after all of the excitement, myself and Vim were chatting and trying to discuss and break down why it was potentially moving around. They are predominantly nocturnal snakes, but interestingly enough, with a bit of research, I've also established that they breed in the middle of winter, and judging by the way he was moving around, I'm wondering if he wasn't on the scent trail of a female. Oh, could it look like they're running up to the baboons playfully? This is going to be an interesting shot. Let me just try and get into position quickly. So yeah, I think potentially that snake was on the trail of a female, but either way, wonderful to see it on the move. Look at this for a shot. Beautiful. The kudu really are running around playfully amongst these baboons. There they go. Look at that, jumping for joy. And I'm just going to creep forward a little bit more to see what those kudu continue to do. Here they come. We don't need to go anywhere. Sorry, Vian. And who knows exactly what it is that's induced this excitement, but you can see they are running around playfully and providing us with some. Look at that. That is incredible, and great work on the camera of him, because it's not easy to follow them as they're pronking about like this. The male kudu must be wondering what he's got himself involved in here. Maybe bitten off more than he can chew. And it is behavior that's fairly common of kudu. They do like to elevate themselves on termite mounds. Look at that is incredible. And the individual there was pronking up to the baboons playfully. I am going to continue to try and reposition accordingly to get us into a good spot. Hold on 1 second. Who knows, maybe it's because the kudu feels safe, knowing with all these baboons around, they've got so many eyes and ears that they can rely on to detect any predators, and maybe that's given them the opportunity to let their guard down and play around. Here they come. Now it's the last two that are left on the termite mound that I'm sure are going to follow the rest of the herd shortly, so we're going to have one last shot of them before they disappear into some thicker vegetation. you can probably hear a bird calling in the background, and that was a crested barbet that you would have heard. Is my impersonation to give you an idea of which frequency I was tuning into there. I'm surprised that these two haven't followed the herd more closely, but we'll keep an eye on them, as I'm sure at some stage they are going to run down from that termite mound and jump across the road. But if they do, VM is ready for action. In the meantime, from myself, thanks so much for joining us this morning. It's been a morning with some of the smaller critters, not too much of the big game, although having said that, Brent did have a great sighting with the elephants to start off with. So one of those mornings with no predators really, and that's fine because we've been blessed with some other great sightings. Just the brief sighting of the baboon and these kudu have been really interesting, as well as the bataleur soaring above us. So hopefully you all enjoyed it as much as we did. Of course, the snake, how could I have forgotten about the puff adder, which was a highlight for me and possibly the best snake sighting, or definitely the best snake sighting that I've been able to share with you. So I hope you enjoyed that, and well done to VM on camera and Nikki in Final Control, and we will see you all this afternoon for the next adventure. A little bit over broadcast, just to keep an eye on these kudu. I'm sure it won't take long before they decide to head off and follow the rest of the herd.